Okay, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today we're going to talk about the importance of knowledge and why we need to spend the most amount of time on this topic. This is the most important topic that we have to kind of focus on. So you guys can see the slides, right? I think so? Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about a few ayahs in the Quran that talk about this topic in particular. And the first thing we always want to talk about is, there's a beautiful hadith by the Prophet ﷺ. عن أبي هريرة قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا يقعد قوم يذكرون الله عز وجل إلا حفتهم الملائكة وغشيتهم الرحمة ونزلت عليهم السكينة وذكرهم الله في من عنده. The Prophet ﷺ said that no one gathers or no people gather to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but that the angels surround them and cover them with mercy and send tranquility upon them and mention them to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions them among the angels near him. So what this hadith tells us is that, just like right now we're meeting to talk about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Quran and Sunnah, we inshallah will fall into this category of people that are يقعدون يذكرون الله عز وجل, right? So this hadith is talking about every time you sit down to learn the Quran, or you sit down to learn the hadith, or you sit down to learn your religion, you're going to fall into this category of hadith, and you're going to feel the peace, you're going to feel the tranquility, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to boast about you to the angels. And this topic is, here's a list of things we want to talk about today and why learning is really important, or gaining Islamic knowledge is important. So it's one of the best things that we can do. It's one of the best deeds. It's a path to Jannah. And the scholars and teachers of the religion are the best people on the Day of Judgment. So the people with the highest status are those individuals who are scholars and teachers and the students of knowledge. The lessons of knowledge are the best gatherings. So just like right now, this halaqah, this is the best thing you could be doing right now is learning and teaching, right? And Islam encourages us to learn about our religion. And the list of benefits is very long, and there's still so many things that we're not even going to get to cover today. But inshallah, we'll cover as much as we can today. And we'll talk about some of the ayat that are in the Quran, okay? And so what is sharia? What is the ilm? What is the knowledge that we're talking about? The knowledge we're talking about is the Quran and the Sunnah, right? The Quran and what it means, and its tafsir and its ma'ani, and taking lessons and implementing them, right? Like what did Prophet Musa alayhi salam do in this situation? What did the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam do in this situation? All of these stories, they're going to teach us how to become better Muslims and how to help others become better Muslims. Because if we understand the lessons, we can help everyone else understand, and we'll teach those lessons to everyone else, inshallah. So, and the people that study, they're called the inheritors of the prophets, warathatul anbiya, because they're the ones that are passing the guidance from one generation to the next, right? Everyone should make it their goal to learn more and become more knowledgeable, so that they can, inshallah, give that knowledge to somebody else one day, and also teach their family members all the knowledge that they're learning. And so we'll go to there's an ayah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يرفع الله الذين آمنوا منكم والذين أوتوا العلم درجات والله بما تعملون خبير. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will elevate those of you who are faithful and raise them in knowledge, in rank. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is aware of what you do. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is raising the status, He's telling us, of those who are knowledgeable. They're going to have a higher status, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is aware of what we're doing and how we're doing things. And you know, the benefit here is that Islam, and in the Quran you see, is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about ilm, knowledge, and it shows how important it is. And when you have knowledge, you're able to benefit not just yourself, but everyone around you. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevates the rank and the position of those individuals who gain and attain the knowledge. And earlier Muhammad read for us the first 5 ayahs from Surah Al-Alaq, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق خلق الإنسان من علق اقرأ وربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق, read, O Prophet, in the name of your Lord who created. خلق الإنسان من علق, He created humans from a clinging clot. And the alaq is something so small that you just can't really see it. It's subhanallah, how can something so small turn into a human being? اقرأ وربك الأكرم, read, and your Lord is the most generous. الذي علم بالقلم, who taught by the pen. And these ayahs, they're very specific and particular, right? It's telling you you have to read and write, right? الذي علم بالقلم. So reading is so important. These are the first ayahs that came down to the Prophet ﷺ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also mentions علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم. He taught humanity what they knew not. So if we didn't know something, how would we have learned it, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us the knowledge and capabilities to learn and understand anything. And the best way to do this is to read, right? It's to read and to write. So we have to read and learn, and then, maybe write things down, what we understand, and, to try and understand all the things that we're seeing. And so the surah is showing us, this was the first thing that Jibreel told the Prophet ﷺ, the wahi that came down from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And remember the story, a lot of us know it. The Prophet ﷺ, Jibreel came to him and he said, Iqra, and he said, Ma ana biqari, and he told him, Iqra, right? And this happened multiple times until Jibreel, he said, Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq, right? And so this is the first few ayahs that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down. And so this shows us how important these are. And another ayah in the Quran about the blessing of knowledge. قال الله تعالى أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وأنزل الله عليك الكتاب والحكمة وعلمك ما لم تكن تعلم وكان فضل الله عليك عظيما. Allah has revealed to you the book and wisdom and taught you what you never knew. Great indeed is Allah's favor. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed upon us the knowledge, and subhanAllah, the Quran is so beautiful. No matter how many times you read it, it always sounds like you're reading it for the first time. And the wisdom that we have in this book is you can learn so many lessons from one book. I don't think there's any book that you can read that has such a wide variety of topics and beautiful lessons that you can learn from, and that you can read more than once and always learn something new. Every time I read the Quran, I always understand something new. I learn something different. And this is something that shows how much knowledge that there is to gain from the Quran and the Sunnah. There's so many lessons to draw. And inshallah, I hope that we're all able to, become better learners, and then we're able to teach that knowledge to everyone else, because that's the goal, is to become someone who is a scholar in a particular area or a scholar in a particular field. So that way we can, really fall under the category, that is listed here in the Quran, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us He elevates the ranks of the scholars and how they are, they're not the same as someone who doesn't have knowledge. And so let's go to the next slide. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told His Prophet to make a dua. And this dua is وَقُلْ رَبِّ زِدْنِي عِلْمًا. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded the Prophet ﷺ to say, "Oh my Lord, increase me in knowledge." And this ayah, again, like you look at how many ayahs we have that are talking about knowledge, and there's still so many. That we're not going to talk about all of the ayahs in the Quran that talk about knowledge, but we're going to talk about a few of them just to show how important this topic is. And it's a very simple but powerful concept, right? It's when you spend your time on Islamic knowledge, all of that time is blessed, all of that time is good, and you're going to benefit so many people with it. And I think that we're all, the more that you know, the better Muslim that you're going to become, and the farther away that you'll inshallah stay away from the haram, right? Because when you understand your religion and you understand what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us in the Quran, then you'll be able to avoid the haram and stay and find the halal. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also tells us in the Quran, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, قُلْ هَلْ يَسْتَوِي الَّذِينَ يَعْلَمُونَ وَالَّذِينَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ إِنَّمَا يَتَذَكَّرُ أُولُو الْأَلْبَابِ. Are those who know equal to those who do not know? None will be mindful except people of reason. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us here that it's a question. Are those who know, are they the same as those who don't know? And this is a type of question where the answer is very clear, right? It's like this is a question, but the answer is obvious, right? And the answer is that the people that do know, الَّذِينَ يَعْلَمُونَ, they are not the same or on the same level or category as those who do not know. It's a big difference. And the importance of knowledge here is being highlighted again, just like the ayahs that we saw before. And those who have knowledge are able to see things that others are not able to see, and they're able to understand what they'll be able to apply that knowledge everywhere in their life. Every ayah and every hadith that you learn, you can apply that to so many scenarios in your life, right? So like in the Quran, you might read an ayah and it'll tell you that, this is haram or this is halal, or you might see a prophet behaved a certain way during a certain scenario, and then the prophet, like you learn this lesson from the prophet's story, and you can apply that same lesson everywhere that you go. And that's the beauty of having that knowledge. It stays with you, and you're always able to benefit yourself and others when you gain and increase your knowledge. So we have a few ahadith on knowledge that the Prophet ﷺ taught us about. And so one of them here is that the Prophet ﷺ said, I'm starting on the right, okay guys? Superiority in knowledge is better than superiority in worship, and the basis of religion is abstinence. قال لي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. This is on حذيفة بن اليمان. وفضل في علم خير من فضل في عبادة وملاك الدين الورع. And so this is telling us that knowledge is just better and more superior. It's better to have the right knowledge than to, do more worship. It's better to have the knowledge. And another hadith عن ابن مسعود قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا حسد إلا في اثنتين. So there's no envy. There's no one that you should envy except two types of people, two categories. رجل آتاه الله مالا فسلطه على هلكته في الحق ورجل آتاه الله الحكمة فهو يقضي بها ويعلمها. So two people may be envied. Someone who has wealth and they use it in the right thing, right? So having wealth and using it in the wrong thing is really bad. But when you have wealth and let's say you donate it and you use it to support your family and you're using it in the right things, this is someone you should envy because you want to be the same as them. And a man who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them wisdom, and that person that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him wisdom or her wisdom, they act upon it and they teach it. And so that's someone you should envy and try to be like them. So that's extremely important that and we know that you're not supposed to have envy from other ahadith, but these are your two exceptions. They're very rare exceptions like this. Another hadith that the Prophet ﷺ said, عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال ومن سلك طريقا يلتمس فيه علما سهل الله له طريقا إلى الجنة. The Prophet ﷺ said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes the way to Jannah easy for the one who treads the path in search of knowledge. So here right now, we're taking the path of knowledge. We're in this halaqah, and inshallah, this is just one of the steps that we all take in our path to Jannah. Every time you go to a halaqah, every time you study the Quran or you study the Sunnah, you're taking a step, and you're taking steps towards Jannah, inshallah. And there is nothing more beautiful to know that you're going and walking in the path of Jannah by going to the path of knowledge. So we have here these three hadith to summarize that having knowledge is one of your highest priorities, and someone who has knowledge, and they teach it and they use that knowledge appropriately, we can have envy for these people because we want to be like them. And that whoever takes the path of knowledge, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to make it easy to send them on the path to Jannah, right? طيب, tamam. Let's go to the next slide. And this is a little bit longer, very similar to the last hadith. سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول من سلك طريقا يطلب فيه علما سلك الله به طريقا من طرق الجنة وإن الملائكة لا تضع أجنحتها رضا لطالب العلم وإن العالم لا يستغفر له من في السماوات ومن في الأرض. Let me translate first. So whoever travels on a road in search of knowledge, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will cause him to travel on one of the roads of Jannah. And the angels will lower their wings in their great pleasure for the one who seeks knowledge. وَإِنَّ الْمَلَائِكَةَ لَا تَضَعُ أَجْنِحَتَهَا رِضًا لِطَالِبِ الْعِلْمِ وَإِنَّ الْعَالِمَ لَيَسْتَغْفِرُ لَهُ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ. And the scholar, everything in the sky and the earth is going to make istighfar for him. ليستغفر له من في السماوات ومن في الأرض والحيتان في جوف الماء وأن فضل العالم على العابد كفضل القمر ليلة البدر على سائر الكواكب وإن العلماء ورثة الأنبياء وإن الأنبياء لم يورثوا دينارا ولا درهما ورثوا العلم فمن أخذه أخذ بحظ وافر. So the whales and the ants are all making istighfar for the one who is a scholar or a student, someone who's trying to become a scholar or taking the path of knowledge. And the scholar they're so bright compared to everything else, right? Like the example here is that the person is like the moon in the dark sky, where you see the stars and they're very faint, but the moon is so much brighter and it's lighting up the whole sky. Every time, the first thing you see when you look up at the sky is the moon, and this is to show you how bright and significant being someone who is a alim is, right? It's like being the moon. And I think that's the most beautiful way to describe it. And the last part here is وَإِنَّ الْعُلَمَاءَ وَرَثَةُ الْأَنْبِيَاءِ. That the scholars, they're the ones inheriting from the prophets, right? The prophets didn't leave behind, like money or anything material or fame. They left knowledge, and this knowledge is what we need to learn and pass down, to our family members and the next generation. And whoever takes this knowledge, it says, فَمَنْ أَخَذَهُ أَخَذَ بِحَظٍ وَافِرٍ. So whoever takes it has taken an abundant portion, which is, you've taken something amazing if you're able to grasp and learn and take the knowledge. So this hadith, again, it's another hadith that tells us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to make your path to Jannah easy. Everything in the heaven and the earth is going to make istighfar. And that the one who's a scholar is warathatul anbiya. And the prophets, they didn't leave behind any money or anything, material. They left knowledge. And so we should take that knowledge, because the prophets, they left us the most important thing. Nothing else is as important as knowledge. And here we have a few more ahadith to go through. سمعت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول من يرد الله به خيرا يفقهه في الدين. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intends good for someone, He grants him the understanding of the religion. So right now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants good for each and every one of us, and He's letting us become more knowledgeable in our religion. And that's extremely important to remember, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes the path to Jannah easy, and that if you become more knowledgeable, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants better for you. And the second hadith, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا تزول قدم عبد يوم القيامة حتى يسأل عن عمره فيما أفناه. So your 2 feet don't move on the day of judgment until you're asked about your life and what did you do in your life. وعن علمه فيما فعل, and with their knowledge and what did they do with it. So on the day of judgment, you're going to be asked about what did you do with the knowledge that you learned, and what did you do with your brain power, basically, right? How did you utilize your brain? وعن ماله أين اكتسبه وفيما أنفقه, and his money, and where did he spend it, and how did he earn it. وعن جسمه فيما أبلاه, and his body, how did he use his body? Did he use it in the worship and in the servitude of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or did he use his body in haram? So those are the 4 questions that no one is going to move until they answer those 4 questions on the Day of Judgment. And another hadith telling us about the importance of knowledge, the Prophet ﷺ, he says, قال من جاء مسجدي هذا لم يأته إلا لخير يتعلمه أو يعلمه فهو بمنزلة المجاهد في سبيل الله. Whoever comes to this masjid of mine and he only comes for a good purpose, such as to learn or to teach, his status is like that of one who fights in jihad, in the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we see here how amazing it is to be a scholar and all the benefits. It's a long list, and subhanAllah, we have even covered all the ahadith and all the ayat, and we're almost done. We have, I think, 2 more ahadith to cover. And just to summarize this slide, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if He wants good for you, He grants you understanding of the religion. And you're not going to move on the Day of Judgment until you answer those 4 questions, which are your life and how did you spend it, and your knowledge and what did you do with it, and your money, how did you earn your money, from where, and what did you spend your money on, and your body, how did you use your body? Did you use it in the halal or did you use it in the haram? And finally, also, the Prophet ﷺ says that whoever goes, and his intention when he goes to the masjid or his masjid to teach or to learn, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's going to be in the same status as a mujahid. So look at all these amazing benefits, okay? All right, let's go for the last 2 ahadith, and inshallah we'll wrap up after that, okay? عن أبي هريرة قال كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول اللهم إني أعوذ بك من علم لا ينفع ومن قلب لا يخشع ومن نفس لا تشبع ومن دعاء لا يسمع. And so this hadith, it's telling us that the Prophet ﷺ, he used to make a dua, right? Which is, "Oh Allah, I seek refuge in 4 things. Knowledge that's not beneficial, and a heart which is not submissive. وَمِن قَلْبٍ لَا يَخْشَعْ وَمِن نَفْسٍ لَا تَشْبَعْ." And, a soul or an appetite which, I don't get full, or it's insatiable, means, a soul that doesn't get enough. You know how there's always someone who, they can eat, and they just can't get enough food and they won't stop eating, so the same things. The Prophet ﷺ used to make this dua, وَمِن نَفْسٍ لَا تَشْبَعْ وَمِن دُعَاءٍ لَا يُسْمَعْ. And from a dua that's not heard, right? You want your dua to be heard, so you want to make sure that you also make this dua, right? This dua is so beautiful. You're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help increase your knowledge and to help guide you to the right things, basically. And finally, we have another hadith here that you may have heard. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا مات الإنسان انقطع عنه عمله إلا من 3 إلا من صدقة جارية أو علم ينتفع به أو ولد صالح يدعو له. So the 3 things, when someone passes away, everything, all their good deeds, they stop, except 3 things. A sadaqah jariyah, so like a charity that is never ending, or a knowledge which is beneficial, or one of their, descendants, one of their children or their grandchildren, they pray for him, right? They make dua for him. So those, whenever someone passes away, all of their deeds stop, except what? Sadaqah, knowledge, and someone that is righteous, and they're praying for him. And with that, we're going to conclude today. These are all the ahadith that I wanted to talk about. And so we'll go here to our conclusion. And here we have a couple of benefits that we talked about today, like forgiveness, the whales in the ocean and the ants. Everything is making istighfar for the individual that is a scholar. And you have, the status of a mujahid, right? If we had the hadith where the Prophet ﷺ told us, someone whose their only intention is to teach or to learn, you are a mujahid, which very high status. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes the path to Jannah easy. And like we mentioned in the beginning of the halaqah, that there is going to be a peace and mercy that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showers those who go to gatherings where there's knowledge being shared and where there's learning of the Quran and the Sunnah. And with that, that's all I had for today. And so I'm going to make a quick dua, and then we'll wrap up, inshallah, and then we'll meet in the next week. Inshallah, we'll talk about, I still don't know what I want to talk about, but we're going to wrap up, and inshallah, we'll meet next week. So I'm going to make a dua, okay? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. الحمد لله أكرمنا وجمعنا بحلقات العلم من جميع بلاد العالم. اللهم ارزقنا العلم النافع الذي يقربنا منك وينفعنا في حياتنا في الدنيا. اللهم علمنا ما جهلنا وذكرنا ما نسينا وافتح علينا من بركات السماء والأرض إنك أنت السميع العليم. اللهم يا معلم موسى علمنا ويا مفهم سليمان فهمنا اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين في جميع بلاد المسلمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.